Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Ask Venus.
The goddess is here.
Our very own voiceover, Joseph Dukes. Welcome.
That's right. Welcome to Ask Venus. The goddess is here. Oh my gosh.
Well, I have to say, the title of this was not my idea, and it has definitely brought things up for me personally. Just, yeah, the whole the ego thing and not wanting to, pretend I'm the guru or the one with all the answers and all that stuff. And then it's just like, okay, so would this be fun? So here we are. Let's have some fun. So Joseph, I do have a question for you.
Yes,
since you came up with our title today, there can be only one.
Which I thought was really funny, by the way, because it was like we're talking about, Venus is like the goddess of sex and love and everything else. I'm just like, well, and I know that, you've talked about in the past that, that was your point of view, that you were looking for the one. And of course, I flash to my sci-fi geek mind, and I'm thinking like Highlander. There can be only one, sword fighting. I'm thinking sword fights, and and you're thinking like the one. So,
But
yes, what is your question?
Yeah, well, I'm wondering because I've actually never asked you this before. Did you at any point in your life believe that there was only one person for you?
It's interesting. That's an interesting question. I know that there were, there were times, there was a couple different times in my life that I knew that there was someone out there, but I never saw it as the one. Maybe I was not looking for Miss Right. I was looking for Miss Right Now. So if anyone else can relate to that, I was, there was different relationships that I've been in my life that I actually, in my mind's eye, knew that there was somebody else, that the one I was with was not. And I used the word I was supposed to be with, but there was another possibility out there outside of what I was in, because what I was in was not working. But I was always taught that you're supposed to, it's like when you make a decision, Joseph, you stick with that decision. That's the right choice, because that's what a man does. And sorry, Dad. And the reality is that I don't think neither one of my parents ever told me that, but that was just what I was what I was taught, and just my general life. And so I think that, no, that's a kind of a long, convoluted answer, but no, I don't think that there was ever just one. I think there was one in that moment. And then there was typically another moment where I knew there were other possibilities, more opportunities. What about you?
Cool. Well, we're not quite done with you yet.
Oh, okay. We're going to dig deeper in this. Oh, great. Fantastic.
Well, because you were married for 25 years, right?
Pretty close, 24, yeah.
Okay, so was that based on you should be with one person for the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's certainly where it started. Where it started was that this is the right one. I can say that. That's like someone just took a shit in my mouth. When I think about it, it was because it was what I was supposed to do. And maybe nobody else, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but like there's like this in my head, there's a progression. Like you're born, you go to school, you have your little girlfriends, you have your little buddies, and then and then when you get serious in your life, okay, it's time to grow up and be serious. Well, that's when you're supposed to settle down. You're supposed to get a career. You're supposed to find a mate. You're supposed to procreate and have children. You're supposed to have the white picket fence. and you're supposed to get old and die together, you know.
Right.
But it's funny that nowhere in there was there the word happiness. Like, nowhere in that scenario was there ever like, hey, you know what? You should really find joy in your life. And you know what? And you should really do what just makes you feel light and sunshiny. And yeah, that was never the case. That was never brought up. So yeah, so for me, I think it was more that this is the natural progression. Okay, you're with someone. If you're having sex with them, son, then you should marry them. And so, yeah, that was pretty much projected all over me, and I pretty much bought it.
Right. But from probably parents, but also religion.
Yeah, parents' religion, you know.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think that's kind of common for most of us, is that we think that somehow there's a right way to do relationships. There's a right way to, to create a life even, right? And the right way is this formula that somebody has created instead of, what works for you and what would you like to create in your life. I did spend many, many years looking for the one. Unlike you, I didn't get married and do the 24-year stint thing to one person. I bounced from one to one.
Is that called like serial monogamy?
That's what I told you when I met you. That I was.
That is true. You claimed yourself as a serial monogamist. I'm thinking, so you get like into open relationships, and you're like, no, but I will serially monogamize somebody.
And that really, for me, what I really started to realize was that I didn't sleep with multiple people at the same time. But if I slept with somebody new, that was somebody new, and the other one was done. So that's how I came up with the serial monogamist, because I was like, okay, well, we've quite a few. But I was always looking for the one. It was like, oh man, it was like there was always going to be like the one person, and I'd probably blame it on all the fairy tales as a kid, and all there's a prince, there's a knight in shining armor, Chicago. By the way, Chicago was not good for a
You
romance.
mean the group Chicago?
Yes. Because all they ever sang about.
Oh my gosh! Now I have Chicago going through my head. I want to break into song right now. Yes.
Right. Please do. Like, give us a demonstration, because I know people are like, Chicago. What is that?
think of a lot of brass, and think of Peter Cetera and that voice. He'd be like talking about a knight in shining armor. You're looking from a long time ago. That's the oh my gosh. And as soon as you say that, yeah, it may not have been the one, but yeah, you're looking for that. I was looking for the damsel in distress.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for Dave. Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. So would you let that go?
Yes, go.
Cool. Yeah, and I was looking for the knight, the one to save me. So I was, always like looking for the guy that would always like step up when I'd have problems, right? But then it was like I was always like manufacturing problems. And by the way, guys, I didn't know I was doing this. This wasn't conscious. This was just like programmed, and like some sort of weird belief that had me think that, okay, I have to play this role so that this guy plays this role. And then I was always disappointed when he didn't play his role.
Were you ever disappointed because he did play his role?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I think probably in some ways, yeah. Like, especially if he played the role when I didn't want to be with him anymore. It's like, oh yeah, now he steps up, but I'm like, I've already moved on, or whatever. Zero monogamous.
The goddess is here, and now the goddess is gone.
Well, I'm also a Pisces. And what I've heard about Pisces is that Pisces are great to catch, but hard to keep.
They're certainly fun to catch.
But slippery fish.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
Cool. So, Joseph, what have you found now that works for you?
What have I found now that works for me? You mean with women or just in general?
Sure.
Just with women?
Could be a partnership, could be women, could be.
Well, that's an interesting question. There's a lot of different ways you take that or go down different roads. Say something that I cut myself off for the longest time. Like, I couldn't be myself, and whether it was projected on me or, we in and out. Whether it was projected on me or it was just something that I just took on, was that I couldn't be myself if I was with somebody. Like, I am naturally flirtatious. I'm a huge, I love people. I love people. I love women. I'm a hugger. I'm a jokester. I love laughing with people, and I always love making people laugh. I love laughing myself, and I found that I for the longest time I could not be myself around women, specifically if my girlfriend or wife or person I was with or whatever was around, because I somehow had to be a different version of me. And one of the things, and I'll just say, and I'll say thank you for this gift, because like I did that one time around you when, we had been together for a little bit and we were at like, I can't remember, an access consciousness class, or we were somewhere. And like, I couldn't figure out what was going on with me, but I was being like being torn. I was trying to be me, but I couldn't be me, but it was just like this weird thing. And you're like that. And you pointed it out. You're like, you are not being you right now. And that is not a turn on. And I went, what do you mean not being me? And you pointed out the fact that I wasn't being myself. I was trying to fit into a role. So, I guess one of the things that's changed for me is my idea of roles in partnership or roles in relationship are pretty much blown out of the water now. So now I have a much different, and I'm use a big word here, paradigm, but it's a different paradigm. It's a total shift from where the direction I've always gone, which is I have to act a certain way if I'm in a relationship with somebody. I can't look at another woman. I can't talk to another woman. I can't give another woman a hug, because my partner's going to freak out and go, "You want to fuck her? I know you do. I know, Or like all of a sudden, you're going to hate the woman that I'm with is going to hate the other person, because I'm just like, you don't even know her. Yeah, but she wants to sleep with you. I mean, it's like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. It's just just having a conversation with someone, just being me and laughing. So like one of the greatest gifts that you show me is the gift of me. So that actually it's a greater gift to our partnership, to our relationship. I love the word creationship, because it's where we're creating together. We aren't trying to be in separation from each other, but we're trying to create ways to be closer. is that it's been so cool that the more I am me, and the more I'm not in judgment of me being me, because really that was just all me being in judgment of what I was choosing. That if that's what I choose, it actually creates a lot more space for you and I. You know, because then there's just ease. Because then I'm not having to figure out, okay, who am I right now? Okay, right. It's kind of like lying. You know, I remember my dad telling me when I was super young. He says the great thing about always telling the truth is that, or not lying, I should say. He says the great thing about not lying is that you never have to worry about what story you told that person. You know, because the more you lie, the more different. Okay, which story did I tell? That's a lot of stuff to keep in your brain. So if I could just be me, I think for me, it's created a lot of ease. I don't know about you. So I'd love to hear from your side of that. What's different?
Well, thank you. I want to say hello, Irene, Jacqueline from Germany, Patricia, Chelsea. Thank you guys for being here. Patricia said, you two are so much fun together. I love the laughter and the honest and the vulnerability as well. Awesome. And Chelsea says, this is great. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Yeah. So Joseph, what was your question?
I don't know. I was all sidetracked by the awesome comments. Thanks, Patricia, and thanks, Chelsea. We got people from Germany here?
Yeah, we do.
How cool is that?
That's very cool.
So I wanted to hear what your, you know, from that moment where I was not being me, and kind of your pointing that out, and you know, if you have seen anything change or what that has created for you in our relationship that we have, and how and continue that on into what's changed for you.
Cool. Well, I think probably, yeah, it's been such a gift to see you be you. I mean, you are such a contribution to my life, and why do you have to be just a contribution to my life? Like, you can actually be a contribution to everybody's life. So I think it's a gift that you make women feel so special. And, you know, I don't really, go ahead and mute your end.
Are you getting, sure.
Yeah, there's feedback. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you being you just is such a gift to other women, but, and then, like, I don't know. I heard somebody say this once. It's like, I don't care where you get your appetite from as long as you come home for dinner. And I kind of feel that way. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Because I am a monogamous still. That is, I do prefer monogamy when I'm with somebody, but it doesn't mean that, you know, just when I made jokes before, I was still taking out vacations.
Okay. So that is funny. So she did tell me the other day, she says, you are the best. I'm like, so far.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, and we are still taking applications.
And I would just say that has been one of the greatest gifts that I have had with you, has been just the laughter and the willingness to play and not take things so serious, and not take that personal. Like, I don't take it personal that, you know, you're flirting with somebody else. It's not personal. And I think so many of us, and I did this for a long time, guys. So, you know, it's like somebody chooses something and you're like, it's personal to you, and it's not personal to you. It's actually something they're going through or something they're working through. But man, we like to make it personal. Like, oh, he cheated on me. That's personal. Well, did he cheat on you, or did he really need to honor himself in that? Right. And his body and his needs, and, you know, that's a slippery slope, but hey, we're in Ask Venus, the group now. And so you guys, there is no question too risque here. I'm willing to talk about anything and use some of my experience. And one of the greatest gifts I think I've seen myself give Joseph has been the freedom to be himself, and to not take it personal. when he does something that I don't like, because sometimes relationships, people do things they don't like, you don't like, right? But it's not personal. So that's been a huge change for me, because I used to make everything personal. It was all personal trauma.
Well, now I got a kind of a different question. So, and maybe it's along the same lines as I know we were talking about the one, but what's changed in what you are looking for in relationship or a partnership now than say 10 years ago?
That's a really good question. Well, I did have a huge shift about 5 years ago. The last relationship I had before this one was not a very nice one. And I came out of, actually in the middle of it, I was living someplace where I didn't know anyone but him and his friends, and it was this semi-abusive relationship. And I looked at this tool in Access Consciousness called the 5 Elements of Intimacy. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take the next 6 months, a year to practice the 5 Elements of Intimacy with myself. And I'm really going to devote my time to me. And I was living in Hawaii, so I was far away from my friends. I was far away from my family. And I really had to be with me, because obviously the relationship I was in wasn't working very well. And it was one of the greatest gifts I've ever given myself, because by the end of that time, it was actually 6 months, I finally got that I was the one that I'd always been looking for, and that I had my own back, and that I knew from that point forward, and then I ended the relationship. And but I knew that point forward, I would never be in a creationship, a partnership with anybody that did not make my life greater, because that's how much I was committed to me and my life and myself, and having my own back. And the 5 elements of intimacy are vulnerability, allowance, gratitude. Now all of a sudden I can't remember. Trust, and what's the fifth one? Honor. Yeah, to treat yourself with regard. Right. So for me, that was pivotal for me. And so actually, when I met Joseph, when I met you, I knew I wouldn't settle for anything less. And it really was will this create greater? Will this add to my life? And I still ask that question, is it creating greater? And another thing to do, guys, and just as a recommendation, is just to get that you have your own back, but if you could let go of all the utopian ideals. And there's a great book called Beyond the Utopian Ideals by Gary Douglas. And I think, Joseph, you read it too, right? So what was that book like for you?
Well, that's funny. The utopian ideal is kind of what I took from it. And I always tried to be the knight on, the prince, the knight in shining armor. Like, I'm here to save you. The problem was that meant I was always looking for people to save, which meant I was looking for people that were fucking broken or had something jacked up in their life that really, in retrospect, it was typically nothing that I could ever fix, because people, and I don't necessarily believe people are broken, but people, they choose their life. And so they choose how they're going to act, or how they're going to, whether it's, yes, I don't condone abuse or anything like that, but it's kind of like, okay, so I went through that. Now what am I going to live in that forever? Am I going to hold on to that for the rest of my life? And that's going to define who I You know, that's just one thing, but it's for me, I was always, the utopian ideal was, you know, as a guy, it's my job to, you know, shelter, clothe, protect, you know, be the, you know, be the chivalrous one, blah, blah, you know, basically cut my arms and legs off for my princess.
Right.
Problem is that princesses, they are never freaking satisfied. So it's like, so that was what I took from the utopian ideal, was I realized that how much of my life had been in that space. And living beyond that has been really, and what you just talked about was the asking the question of, is this creating greater in my life? Mm-hmm. And I really think that's a great question, because how many times, you know, they talk about the grass is greener. You know, mm-hmm. you look over there and you see someone, you're like, well, what would it be like that to be with them? And truthfully, if you got, I mean, I think that's a great question to ask. And if you would just be real with the answer, get away from the hormonal part and say, okay, would shagging him be fun? Okay, that's a totally different conversation. Right. You know, but like, so afterwards, what would this be like? I remember Dane here talking about that, you know, and I was just like, you know, afterwards, is this going to be a good thing when it's all said and done? And I think that's probably one of the greatest questions that I've learned to ask is this going to be fun? Is it going to be honoring? Is it going to be nurturing? And playing that through all the way it's in its entirety, you know. So yeah, the Utopian Ideal was a fabulous book, and it really has helped me look at relationships in general, and it just and more relationship with me, you know, because it starts with me. You know, it starts with, what is it that I really desire? Do I really desire to be? It's a lot of work to sit on a horse, you know, be up there on your white charger all the time and never fall off. And then if you fall off, you know, it takes a lot of work to get back on there.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. And a Facebook user actually said, thank you guys for bringing this up. And I get you, Joseph. Sometimes I still believe like a knight. True that. Hi, Brandy. Welcome. Yeah. So I think just in light of our conversation today, Joseph, I'm so grateful. You could mute it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I'm so grateful for this conversation and just kind of sharing our story. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but like I said, I'm happy to contribute wherever I can. And if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, we'll do this once a week. So thanks for being here. And if you could take one thing from this, I think maybe Joseph and I would agree that if there can be only one, that you're the one that you've been looking for all along.
I'm the one.
I'm
the one for me.
Right, exactly.
I'm like a Tigger. I'm like, you know.
I'm the only one. So thank you, Joseph. So grateful for you. And thank you, everyone, for watching and being here. Look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Bye.